their own opinion. And it's just, I feel like it's so counterintuitive sometimes. How much do you think of it as being traced back to our educational system and how we're taught to think critically about things?
To make yourself perfect. You have to be perfect in order to fit in with the perfection that you set up for the other person. And I guess like this big, I hate this because I've always looked at relationships in this way for such a long time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Over Tea with Mint. We're your hosts, Sarah and Lian. Sarah speaking, and in today's episode, we will be discussing the idea of idealizing people and why we do it. So, before we jump in, Lian, what are you drinking over our discussion today?
I'm drinking tea, but it's not with mint. It's cinnamon, lemon, and rubios, which I don't know what that is even, but I'm stopping myself from coffee. That is the reason. I have a coffee ban on myself for the coming few weeks.
And I'm drinking iced coffee that I made myself because I had espresso, which is nice.
Lucky you.
Don't get jealous. It's a thing.
It's okay.
Come on, you're gonna be fine.
I'm
Anyway,
gonna be fine.
it's just coffee.
Exactly. It's just coffee. Coffee, you don't have anything on me.
Yeah, you don't. So idealizing people. So basically, idealization is the extreme form of admiration. It's basically when you like someone, not like you can see nothing wrong in what someone is doing, even though they're very clearly doing something wrong. Or that you judge them to be perfect, even though you've only seen like one facet of their life or of their personality or whatever.
I feel like I would also kind of idols in like religions is like something you worship. So I would say like that's why I hate like when people say I'm going to see this idol. I just feel like it's like putting a definition of like this is a religion or this is a belief system. This is a group of people that follow a belief system just like I do. And like usually it's with like singers, actors, stuff like that. And I just feel like I would never want to idealize like a human being, especially like as part of like our religion and stuff like that. But like that's like for me, idol, religion, worship. This is like these are like the words I associate with that word.
I think for me, the first time that I started ever thinking about this topic was when I was at university. We had this professor who he was great. He was like introducing new ideas, and it was, he was fine. But I didn't necessarily agree with everything that he said, which is also fine. And he was sometimes accepting of difference of opinion, sometimes not. But it's okay, like you didn't have to argue in class. And in general, to me, it was just he was just doing his job, or like he was just teaching his class, and everyone else was just like making him out to be this, oh my God, he can do wrong, he can say nothing wrong, and the like if he said this thing is true, then it has to be true. But I think to a certain degree, it was I became resentful of this professor, even though I didn't necessarily hate him or he like nothing happened to make me hate him. It was just a couple like I had a difference of opinion a couple of times. Sometimes I voiced it, sometimes I just reserved my opinion to myself. But at the same time, I just hated how everyone overdid it with like talking about how great he was, and it just made me resent him because of that. And I hated like the whole idea of like why other students just couldn't see or couldn't. It just felt like they couldn't think for themselves.
Yeah.
And they just wanted somebody to think for them, and he was giving them. I wouldn't say he was giving them all the answers. I think he was trying to do the opposite of what they were doing, is he was trying to get them to critically think about literature because it was a literature class. And in doing so, I don't know, they started, instead of thinking critically about literature like he was trying to teach them, they just completely adopted his ideology and did not think critically about what he was also saying, and having their own opinion. And it's just, I feel like it's so counterintuitive sometimes. How much do you think of it as like being traced back to our educational system and how we're taught to think critically about things, just like idealizing people? And because if you're just for me, idealizing someone is just agreeing with everything that they are and that they say, or like I feel like even different philosophies or ideologies in the world, if you want to adhere to a certain something that somebody else came up with, I don't think that's necessarily good,
I
because
think,
I feel like you should always have your own variation of, even if you
yeah.
like it that much.
I think, like, while we were talking about it, I was thinking, like, for me in my family, we don't, no opinion is not criticized. And like, even, alhamdulillah, yani, even my parents, like, I was always able to, like, discuss with them and argue with them about different things. It did come to a point where, like, sometimes there had to be a decision that was made, and sometimes the adults had to make it, and I would be feeling like it's so unfair. But I'm saying, like, in general, that is how I was raised. But I think, I'm not sure, I was gonna ask you, like, where these people from our background, from our culture, because I think in our culture we've been taught, and it's like a societal thing where like people who are in bigger positions, people who are in, like, let's say at least managerial positions, or even like above that, are people who can do no wrong, and that's, I think, why we're suffering in this part of the world, because the people who argue are seen as like just disruptors, and so the only way you live in our society is by just completely agreeing and either idealizing or just like knowing that your opinion makes no difference in the big picture, or at least like in the way that, like, if you argue something, you're gonna get something. People are gonna listen to your opinion and are gonna listen to what you're saying and say, oh well, I agree with this person, I think this person is doing something wrong. It's gonna be the opposite. Most people are gonna be like, you're wrong, you're disrupting the peace, you're disrupting the world, the order of the world that we're living in, and they're just gonna argue against that. But at the same time, like, when I was thinking about religion, because like I think so many people are gonna argue, like, so that religion, you're idealizing something. But even then, like, when like Prophet Muhammad, like, wanted to get his message across, I really like how there was a criteria. He was a truthful person. He was always trusted. Like, there were some things that people in this time were like, okay, sure, I see these traits in this person, so I will follow him. And even when they were doing like some things where, they were do ijtihad, like, let's say, like, there was a certain Islamic rule and so many people would do something different, none of them would be called wrong. It would just be called that they tried to fix the thing in their own way. Obviously there were like limitations to that, but like within these limitations, yeah, like that's what I was thinking when you were talking about it. So I think in general, like, what our society should be is not what it is currently, of just agreeing with everything and just being like walking with the river of the people wherever it goes. Like, sometimes you just need to get away from that and just make your own way. If it's wrong, if the way is wrong, if the way is good, obviously everybody's going to be moving through it. But if there's something wrong, we shouldn't just idealize everything that a certain person says, or even like their act, or even like how they look. And like I guess we're gonna discuss like celebrities later, but this is just our society, like, about society in general.
It's also, I just wanted to also like make the difference of idealization versus admiration. Admiration to a certain degree is very nice. So like I like Lean because she's my best friend and I like that she's hardworking. But at the same time, I would also see that Lean is also flawed in her ways and in certain ways. And then I would also accept that. And maybe like just because I admire how hardworking Lean is, maybe I would ask her a couple of questions about what her, I don't know, her morning routine is, what gets her started about like being super productive,
How to
rather
become a
than
millionaire like me in the future. I'm joking.
But I wouldn't basically just go and live her life. Could also feed into a certain culture of comparison. If Lean can do no wrong, and I am somebody who is idealizing Lean, then I feel like also at the same time, idealizing someone makes them unattainable and makes them unhuman. And then it just becomes very depressing, honestly.
No, because when you were talking about like in relationships, especially, I think also like we have this problem in our societies where like certain people can do no wrong, like mothers can do no wrong, your husbands can do no wrong, and like it gets you to this degree where like you have to face these problems, and you're just like, but how can I even say anything bad about this person? They're this person to me. They're my mom. They're my partner. They can do no wrong. I feel like it leads to a lot of resentment, like you mentioned, because if you feel like you kind of feel like you have to make up for their shortcomings, and you feel like you also have to make yourself perfect in order to fit in with the perfection that you set up for the other person. And like I hate this because I've always looked at relationships in this way for such a long time. People would come, let's say like you meet someone and you're just like, this person is perfect. Put this idea of who they are in your head, and if they do something wrong, it just like breaks you down so hard because you just put this image of like total perfection and like admiration and idealize, like everything this person does is correct, and for some reason, like a couple of times and encounters, it is correct. This what you're thinking is correct. This person did all the correct things, but if they do one wrong thing, then it's just like downhill from there. And I guess that's for me the reason why I hate, if I feel like I'm getting so not only attached but like attached to the idea of something, like I need to catch myself midway and be like, calm down, this person also gets stomach aches, also gets sick, also like all of these things,
Yeah.
that you just remind yourself the other person is human as well.
Yeah, and I think, for example, if it becomes that I am idealizing you and I can never be like you, or I could never be or come close to you, not that it's like just also a depressing concept, but
I hate you. I'm joking. I'm getting too many compliments from Sarah. I mean, fake
this is
compliments, but still.
this is a figurative you, Linia.
No, it's not. It's me. I'm perfection.
So if you're so out of reach, then and nobody can ever reach, that level of success or discipline or whatever, or even, whatever it is that I like about you or that I idealize about this other person. I do feel like it's a form of comparison, but one that is so harmful because I think we always talk about comparison and we just never talk about it in the context of idealizing people. It's like, even when like imagine your parents come up to you and be like, oh, why aren't you more like the neighbor's kid who's like always getting straight A's and is going to med school and is doing so great with their life. And then you're just like, well, I'm not them and I don't want to be them. But then we also don't have that same self-awareness or critical thinking where we're the ones comparing or like thinking of other people and idealizing them. Because this is that your parents were idealizing this person, this other kid, and then they kind of like their hopes and dreams for you would be more like along those lines. I think we do that in the same way to ourselves when we idealize someone,
Yeah.
but we don't really realize it. And we always just like think we disguise it as admiration because like, oh my God, they're so and all of that. But at the end of the day, you're putting them on a pedestal and making them very unattainable, very perfect, which they're probably not. I mean, we're all human at the end of the day. We all have problems.
I think in like whenever we're like younger, it kind of shows up more strongly. You see, like in like let's say like, movies that we watch, like Mean Girls. The person who you're admiring, the main mean girl, is followed by two people who can never attain the position that she's in. So the only thing they can do is just be as close to her as possible. And I think like the two girls behind her just like follow her lead. They're as close to her as possible because they can't be her, so at least they're just gonna follow her every lead. And like you see this in school, like the popular girl is always like more like people are closer to her, not because they like her, at least not all of them. Some of them are just there to see what she's wearing, to wear something similar, to like see what she's doing, to do something similar because they think they're gonna attain what she has, or like try to like get some of the whiffs of her magical perfection if they're just close to her. And I guess when we're older, that becomes kind of either resentment or it becomes like obsession over like celebrity. So you can't see their entire life, so what you see is always gonna be perfect, or most of the time at least. But yeah, like I see it especially with like younger generations, influencers online. There's this one influencer who's like really pretty. She's just like naturally really pretty in like societal standards as well, and people are just like, I wish I had half of her beauty, I wish I had like a quarter of her beauty or something like that. And the thing is, like, she by pure coincidence fits into the beauty standards right now, but everybody who sees her and sees the success that she has made because of that just think that it's because of her beauty, it's because of her fame, and they just like want to associate themselves with her. Like, I followed you since you had 1 follower. I followed you since had 1 subscriber. Just like, I'm gonna get some of that success because I know you since like before you became perfect or something like that, you know? I mean, I used to do it. Like, I think everybody gets in a phase where they obsess over something and like get like idealize something or someone. But getting out of it is like knowing the core idea of why it happens to you or to
But
someone.
but do you think that, like what you just described about, like, is it more like maybe pride that they knew they saw the potential in a person before everyone else did, or is it really idealization? Because I feel like it could be more like leaning towards pride, or like being proud that, oh, I saw what nobody else saw back then. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the person who says that, I'm not saying, yeah, I guess like the person who commented that specific comment is not going to be like a mean person. But you know, like it's the same as like when your family, like you do this weird thing and like one time it succeeds and they're like, I was with you in your first steps, and you're like, you weren't with me. But it's like, I guess what I'm kind of leaning into is not only idealizing people, it's kind of idealizing thoughts and life
Mm,
structures as well. Because like everybody you see online who people follow and admire and idealize, they have this lifestyle that is like I want to be that person to have that lifestyle. I want to be that person to get this emotional fulfillment out of something, or like be talented as this person to be able to attain their success. Like if I look at it this way, it's so much easier to know why I do it and to stop myself from doing it. But it's also so maddening that society as a whole idealizes like a specific structure of life, and when you kind of fall
mm,
out of the structure, sometimes you're even forced, like in a sense, like I'm not saying I'm forced to feel miserable, but you kind of like feel the pressure of that idealization on yourself because people don't
mm-hmm.
accept other forms of life or other
Yeah.
forms of success.
I actually want to add on to your association, idealizing by association idea, because it also kind of going back, if you think of like celebrities and people who just spend like hundreds and thousands of dollars of money just to go to a concert or have this go to a meet and greet with their favorite celebrity. I mean, don't you think you could put that money to better use? I mean, I get that you're going there for the experience, but at the end of the day, that's also money that's taken away from, I don't know, your savings, you reaching your goal a bit faster, you doing something, I don't know, you buying a car, you buying a house, I don't know, something that would actually make a difference to your life. That could be, I mean, again, that could be just a difference of thought process, because some people do appreciate experiences more than like maybe being
I feel like
um
there's a limit. Like there's a point where
yes.
you're like, no, you're wasting your money. Like if you don't have money to afford paying, like let's say living in a, let's say I don't know, if, like rental or paying for a nice thing or like getting your mobile fixed, and you're paying for the highest paid ticket in someone's concert, you're gonna be, and you're just literally gonna be one of the few millions, like literally dots in front
Yeah,
of the big stage. There has to be like a limit, and the thing is they the celebrities and the companies, they make use of that. Like how much do they cost? These tickets cost like so much just to see one person or like a group of people. Like how much are, like I feel like this culture of idealizing is just gonna disappear when people have no money. Like in especially
yeah.
in celebrity world, like people get poor.
Will it
How are
disappear?
you gonna pay?
But will it disappear? What I'm afraid of is that it won't disappear, but that the people would go into debt just to go to a concert.
Yeah, if
Like
they're that
that's what I'm
obsessed.
worried about, because it does get to a degree where it does become a sickness. And I really hate it when people are like, one time you made the comment, she's like, oh, where you said, because I'm a Taylor Swift fan. So Lynn said Taylor Swift is basically part of my personality, which
Yeah,
I think
I don't
no.
remember saying
Those are, I remember it because I was like I didn't remember it until I was like planning this episode, because I felt like it was relevant. And it's not just you, because like it's been something on that's on like on the internet where everyone's like, oh yeah, Taylor Swift is basically my personality. It's like everything that I think about, everything that I do is related to Taylor Swift. Great. But at the same time, again, there's a limit. You guys, there's
that's what I'm saying.
like, okay, she is doing a lot of great things with her art and everything, but at the same time, and you know, she's trying to spend her money wisely, like we see all her donations and going blah blah blah. At the same time, number one, we don't know everything. Number two, there to me as a fan, I am so upset that she has not spoken about so many things that she could have like spoken out about, and I will forever be upset until like she speaks about them. And even that I will be upset that she took that long to speak about it, if she
I
ever
think
decides to or not.
I was just thinking like artists in the past, they're craftsmen, right? They're like people who do things, they fix things, not fix, but like they paint things. And like there was nothing such as like there's nothing as idealizing them. Like even people watching shows, they're like, I love this celebrity, but there was no such thing as like this big of a culture of
Hmm.
thousands and thousands and thousands of people
We never had
just
social
go.
media before.
Yeah, and like even with like the huge concerts they have, like if you tell me someone does not have a religion and they go to these concerts and they like just like scream their lungs out, like would I believe that this person doesn't have a belief system? Like, is that their belief system? I think this it reaches to a point. So I was watching this video, and they're like a group of girls in a car listening to Taylor Swift new songs, new album. And I think Taylor Swift was just like in the song saying how she has his baby or something. And these
Yeah.
girls started screaming, crying, dying. And then they're like, "Oh no, wait, wait!" And then I think the second lyric was like, I'm not."
Like, no, I'm not, but you should see your faces. Yeah, it's a
And
prank.
it's like
It's a, yeah.
she
She's
knows the
smart like
power.
that.
Yeah, but she knows the power she has. She knows people idealize her, and they're gonna be opening and seeing the secret messaging about Taylor Swift's personal life and being like, "Oh, that happened with her. Oh, that did not happen with her." And like for me, like we're using Taylor Swift a lot just because I listen to her songs, you listen to her songs, we both know. But I'm just like this is like for all celebrities in general because they know the power they have. And like they know like they literally have like physical monetary power, all kinds of power. Like did you see these like weird concerts like the demonic weird concerts and people say they faint. I don't know. I've not been there, so I can't judge that part. But it's the power they have to kind of do something that's not even in line with the music that they usually do or like the music videos they usually do and just like people being actually scared of going there and like for these couple of hours these groups this big huge amount of people is controlled by these people and like this is why I'm always like I would never give this power of idealizing someone to that person. I would never give them that power. And it's kind of like it's like a red flag for me if I'm feeling too much admiration for someone. Like I just need to remind myself of like the fact that they're human, the fact that so easily their life is so fragile, just like mine is, to give them more control over me by that notion. You know what I mean?
And it does, I mean, it does create a sort of a mob mentality with their fans. I'm not gonna say they're fans because I consider myself a fan of like a lot of people, but at the same time, when with the people who were like, it creates a mob mentality with the people who get obsessed and they feel like, if there is one thing that goes wrong in the life of the person that they idealize, then they have to avenge them somehow. And they go and they do like all these sorts of like really crazy things. It's like, okay, it's, I mean, you can do whatever you want, especially on the internet. At the end of the day, nobody can stop you. But these people have lives, number one. Number two, why do you even think that the person that you're idealizing is so fragile and unable to defend themselves if they needed to be defended, that you, as somebody who is so outside of their life and so outside of their reach, take it upon yourself to go and avenge them with whatever happens? Like, I don't know, the whole Taylor Swift, like if she writes a song about one of her ex-boyfriends that they did something wrong with her to her, and it's like, okay, that's bad. That's, I don't think even Taylor Swift doesn't create art for you to go and be horrible to other people. She creates
Yeah,
art
to
because
take the
like
monster.
she's trying to express her emotions and she thinks that you'll relate to it. I feel like a fan would listen to a song and be like, yeah, I've been through something similar, or like I've felt a similar emotion, and then they would move on with their life. And somebody obsessed would go to that other person who's like, oh, she wrote a song about this guy. I'm gonna go make his life hell. I'm gonna go be super mean to him in his comments, and I'm gonna go stalk him, and it's like, dude, she took her revenge when she wrote that song. She
Maybe
Like
that's what she
she put
wanted to
him
have.
out on blast. Okay, even if she did, then she
I
put him
don't
out on
know.
blast. Like she put the warning about this person out into the world so that other people
Yeah,
are also careful when dealing with them. And so why do
yeah.
you like it just doesn't make sense to me like for people to just to take the time out of their day to go find that other person's Instagram account and write a comment. I don't write
And
a
I
comment for
feel
Lean when she posts something on Instagram and she's my best friend. Please, يعني.
But I think that for me, like you kind of sparked something. Like, the term cancel culture. Like, I feel like people hate that term because when you think about the term cancel culture, you think about people defending celebrities or people just fangirling over someone and not allowing anybody to have an opinion. And in social media, I think mob mentality, in the sense of like we find something that we all agree that is wrong and kind of like work as a community to fix it, is also cancel culture. You're canceling that thing or brand or whatever like it is for an idea, a belief system that they have. And I think in social media, this term and this like way of doing things is has such a bad rep because of the fact that people use it to kind of like just defend and like take revenge for people, for like their idols, the people that they in a sense kind of like worship. Like if they're just a fan, how free are you, how free are you?
Who
Like
has
I
the
never
time,
thought.
honestly?
Seriously, I don't understand. Like that's my biggest issue. Like these people, it's kind of like there was a space of time in the past where like you would go to work, you would have time after work to do something like an activity, hobby, meeting people. And I think like with the culture that we have right now around work and stuff, like this filled like a void where people who don't have these things, don't have hobbies, don't have friends, don't have. I'm not saying people who like celebrities are like that, all of them. But like if you obsess to that degree and you're just living your life online, that means you don't really have the activities that you're supposed to do after work, or you don't have time for them. And this is the only thing you can do at like 2 to 3 a.m. At night when you're awake. So like this is what I always like think, because I was like that in high school. I had this obsession mentality in high school because I had a lot of time. When I had to study for my exams, grade 9 and onwards, like we got out of that culture, right? Like I remember like I was in that culture and then I had to get out. I didn't have enough time to fit in that culture of just like all the time following news and following celebrity articles and just seeing what's happening to celebrity. I didn't have enough time to do it. So I think like a lot of the reason for it is just like having too much time, or like using the time that is lost to just fill in this void that's literally created.
I feel like when you get to that degree, that's when another person becomes your personality. How is it that another person is your personality? It's like that just makes no sense. How is it that a celebrity or a thing or a game or I don't know what it is like is becomes your personality? That just does makes no sense. Like I get that it's the same as being when you're like going to work and you're I don't know, you need to introduce yourself to someone new and then you introduce yourself by your job. Like that's your entire personality. Like your job is the
I
only
was
thing that you can
gonna
do in your
say, I
life.
think, and I think it's so normalized to introduce yourself by your work or by like a very big defining feature, whereas like the reality is like you're so many things. But like the fact that in our culture you kind of define yourself by something or by someone or by a hobby that you have, like that's why like for me this is such a big thing for me because I can't define myself by one thing. And it gets to a point where like I feel like I'm missing something because I can't define myself by just one thing or like one hobby or one activity or one person.
I mean, at the same time, I wouldn't mind if like we're in the context of in a professional context and I go and I introduce myself as, oh, I'm somebody who works as so and so at so and so. Okay, this
Of
is a
course.
networking event. That's how I'm gonna
Yeah.
introduce myself. If I am hanging out with around people who ride horses, I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm a horse rider too. I've been riding horses for
Yeah,
this
I have
long.
to mention that.
And if I'm a group who like loves writing and blah blah, I'll be like, hey, I'm a writer. But at
Yeah.
the same time, take me out and be like, Sarah, you are in a
How do you?
neutral space. you're on your own, how would you introduce yourself? I wouldn't just say one thing. I would say all of them. Like, no.
I think I wouldn't
Like you
say
said, you would
anything.
just feel like something is, yeah, you wouldn't say anything. You're just like,
Yeah,
oh, I
I
don't, I
just say
don't
my name.
exist. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's so
I don't
interesting.
exist.
Yeah.
Because it's like, do we really exist out of context? That's just been a question that's been on my mind for a long time.
I think
But we
it's
don't
not
really,
only that. I
do
think
we?
it's not only that. It's like, I don't think we'll ever find out who we truly are in like all encompassing features. Like even us. Because like maybe I've lived my entire life in an environment that dictates how I am. And then if I go out of that environment, that my personality would change and that would dictate who I am. It's kind of like how when you meet different people, you kind of like not develop, but like you act differently. And I think it's all you. It's not like this is not you and the other person is you. But like you reminded me while you were talking about something that I experienced in like first years of uni when we would meet with our high school friends again. And I remember like because I was studying animation, like, and everybody in our group was like medicine, and I don't think like the handful of engineers that we had, like not even engineering, but just like medicine, and everybody like that was the defining feature. They were fangirling over medicine, like literally. They would be like, "Did you read this chapter yet?" Like everybody was studying in different countries and different schools and different universities. "Did you read this chapter yet?" Like, "Yeah, we took it. I got really scared." Blah, blah. I would be so upset because like what am I supposed to talk about? Like brushes, like what am I supposed to discuss? And the thing is like they can't even get out of that bubble to like be like, oh, there are other people with us here. But
Brush
that's
size
kind
on
of what
Photoshop.
seriously, like what am I supposed to say? And like you try to get them out of it, but I think that's another like form of like idealizing or like obsessing. Maybe I do you think idealizing and obsessing are like similar things? Because
Oh
for me
yeah,
that's kind of
definitely. I feel like the only thing is that idealizing happens with people and obsessing can happen with anything. Like when you're obsessed with something, it's like it could be something that's a person or something else. But idealizing, I feel like it's just a linguistic thing, but rather
yeah,
the feelings are and emotions behind both the things are very similar. I feel like yeah, it's like
yeah. But I
it's like just taking something to the extreme, which is always bad.
yeah,
Just be like
yeah.
very moderate in everything in your life, please.
No, but that kind of made me think the reason why we obsess or idealize, as I mentioned before, like you know, maybe it's to fill a void or something, but like obsession with like anything or anyone, it's also kind of to fill or like to run away or to not kind of like do the thing that you're supposed to do. It's not procrastination. It's not the same thing, but I just think it's like there's something I think for the most part the first years of uni for medical students is like such a big like you thought you studied hard enough and then you have to study harder and that's why it has to become a defining feature of your life because other than society kind of deeming it as like something better in general it's also like the fact that you're spending so much time and as you mentioned before as well like resentment plays a part the fact that all your life like you look at all the other people and you think they're living a much better life than you. Everybody would when I would tell them like I'm studying art, I'm studying animation, I'm studying an artistic field, they're like, "Oh, that's so much fun! I wish I had something like this." And it's like they didn't get the context of like the fact that I'm studying, I'm doing something as well, and it's like because they want to feel like they're all this time they actually did something better than everybody else.
Like they struggled and you didn't. You just had a fun ride. Like art school wasn't stressful.
Yeah,
Like
no,
med
it
school
wasn't
was
at
stressful.
all.
Okay, there are different levels of stress because at least art school or like, studying animation took you like 4 years and for them it probably took like 6 to 8 years wherever they are.
I was just like
Okay, the
always
length of
happy
the
in
stress.
art school. I was always happy. I was not ever like drawing paintings like I'm gonna die. And sure, I'm drawing with colors and pencils. Like we do that when we were children. Of course, I'm gonna be happy, right? This is the context.
Duh, of course.
But yeah, I think it does like the fact that people obsess and like idealize like a certain life path, and then when they get to experience it, they don't find it to be as like. I'm not saying they're not having fun. I'm just saying that hardships happen in life, so you kind of like hold on to something. It's either you hold on to a person. I've seen. I think it's also like the fact that so many people who admire celebrities to the point of idealizing feel like they fix something in them, right? Like they, like when I listen to someone so and so, there was a one song I listened to, it got me out of a depression, out of something. Like they helped me in my life to a certain degree of like it changed my life so much, and they think that is the reason. They just associate that with like savior like mentality of like this person saved.
It's such a cool concept. Like how how you think of art as something. I feel like I do think of art like as something that could save people, because if it's something, again, if you go back to it being a song or a movie or whatever, and then you relate so much to it that you feel seen and gets you out of like a certain mentality, then great. But at the same time, that same person who wrote that song or who did made that movie could also have just like made something very horrible that has put people into a depression state. Uh, uh,
That's so
so it's not really like pick and choose what works for you. It's nobody and nothing is completely, absolutely perfect. Anyway, that's
I
just
think that's what I think that's what I'm trying to get to. Like it's nice. I'm not saying it's bad to like something and like someone and like a celebrity or like their songs. But where it gets to the point of like you see this person as like no, they can't do anything wrong, and you start separating them from their humanness is when things go really bad for you and for everybody around you. Because they have to keep up with you just obsessing over this person.
and for the celebrity themselves. I don't think celebrities, I genuinely think that they suffer when people are obsessed with them. I feel like they themselves do not feel good about it. They just, I mean, the celebrities, at least the ones with a little bit of an alive conscience, they would hate it, and they would just feel a great amount of responsibility, and they would just be miserable all the time because they would feel like you're just putting them up to a certain standard that is impossible for them to always reach. It
Or
just
the other
becomes.
perspective is like when celebrities like become like what is the word? Like they make people beneath them. They take this power and they abuse it.
Mm.
Like I've seen this happen. I've seen like videos where like celebrities would literally like I don't know, it just looks weird. They do like literally treat
Yeah,
themselves as gods. Like you know, like they're above the people. They do acts that I'm just like, why are you doing this? They're literally like humiliating the
because
other
it
person.
gets to them. It gets to their heads, like all of this admiration or obsession. It does get to their head. Like we're at the end of the day, we're all human, and they would grow arrogant. Like if somebody keeps telling you every day, "Oh my God, Leon, you're so good, you're so good, you're so good. You can do no wrong. You can do no wrong." Then you start doing everything wrong because you can do no wrong. Then the wrong becomes right, even
Yeah,
though it's wrong, and nothing.
exactly that expression that we have.
Even it's like if I do it, it's wrong, but if you do it, it's right because it's you who's doing it. But of course, that's gonna get to people's head, and then with people who have experienced so much, they're gonna start experimenting with what they haven't experienced, and if they go down the wrong road,
It's like a
which
child
was
throwing a
typically
tantrum. It's like a very
exactly,
like it's a child who you pampered so much to the point where like they can do anything. Like they can break the cups, they can ruin the house, and nobody can say anything. They're gonna try something worse to get a reaction. But like it
exactly,
reminds me of like the expression of like you know whenever someone compliments you too much, the other person would be like, don't compliment them too much. راسه حينفجر. Like their head's
yeah.
gonna explode out of the many compliments or like much admiration. And I think in our culture, if you like the
But
person who
here's the
gives too
thing.
much.
I think it can go two ways. But finish your sentence so I can say mine.
No, like in our culture, I think there's not our culture in like our religious culture, um, like the fact that people who compliment people too much and people who admire people too much and like poets who write poems about people where they admire them too much are literally like not allowed in our religion. Like they're looked down upon, kind of like you know like the shuyukh who are associated with kings. You call them
Mm.
the religious leaders for kings, and the fact that they can literally just say anything to this leader and like lead them whatever they want. The leader tells them like I want something something. Like yeah, now it's allowed in our religion because you're gonna do it. And like this is literally not allowed in our culture, but yet like we kind of like put that in a
Like
separate
Henry the
line.
Eighth.
Henry the Eighth.
Yeah, the king who had like 7 or 8 wives because he
Ah,
kept
he would allow.
changing the religion based on what he wanted. Like he married his first wife and then when he didn't want her anymore, he went to the church to make divorce possible, and then when they wouldn't do it, he changed the entire kingdom of England to be Protestant because they have to follow the king, like whatever he is. Yeah, he just changed the entire church.
It's like I'm gonna get the laws to change. You're that bad for me.
And then, or did I think like I'm not sure. Like so, like one wife he changed the laws for the other wife he changed the church for the other one he changed the church again. One time he just killed her. I don't know. He just had like 8 or 7 wives.
Crazy.
It was bad. Like he's known for like being super bloody and just like killing all of his wives.
Yeah. Yeah, he married them and then just killed them. Like,
Oh yeah. Because he would just find somebody new and more interesting to him, and he
yeah.
would just like, oh, I want her now. And he would find a way to get rid of the other one.
By the way,
He's
like
already
this is
married to.
something like the fact that in relationships, like people are taught to idealize their partners, and then like once the partner finds out that whoever, yeah, finds out that their partner is a real human being, that's when like they start like getting into like divorce. And I think this is like such a big thing in our culture. Like people who get like in their beginning of their relationship, they're just like this person is perfect. The other person thinks this person is perfect. Once they found they're both not perfect, they don't realize, no, life is not perfect. They're just like, no, you're wrong for me. It's like this
Yeah.
culture of idealizing just like ruins so much in life because people just think life is supposed to be perfect. It's not. Like so many good people get bad things and so many bad people get good things. And life is not supposed to be fair or perfect.
That said, don't
Life.
stay in an abusive relationship. That's wrong too.
Yeah, of course, but I mean in a
But like
like
it's
there's a
I
limit
think what
between
you mean
that.
is like, yeah, just accept each other's flaws.
Because
Accept if
because you
that
know on
flaw is being
TikTok
abusive and just leave.
TikTok people are just like مثلا in a video they're like making a video and the husband is just like not smiling enough and then they're just like leave him girl. Haram, maybe he just
Like he
woke
just
up.
does it like the
or the,
camera.
or the opposite maybe like the wife is like not feeling up to it, she like punches her, they're like you should leave her bro, like what are you doing? And it's like both ends of the statement. I'm just like guys, life is not perfect. Preach.
Yeah. So another like type of people that I think you already brought this up at the beginning of the episode is like how we idealize our parents, and I think it starts from that young of an age. At a certain degree, we grow up and we realize that our parents are also human and that they made all these mistakes. And what I hate is that when a lot of people when like they go to therapy and they're like, oh, uncovering all these childhood trauma, and they're like blaming their parents for everything. It's like at a certain degree you become an adult, and you're also responsible for your own actions. You can't blame your parent for getting you in a car for 2 seconds when you were 5 years old. Get over it. We've all been forgotten in cars. Your parents have been forgotten in a
Yeah, I think it's because when we're younger, like it's the parents' job to kind of teach you critical thinking. And when parents like they treat you like they treat themselves as like I'm perfect, I'm gonna provide everything for you, I'm gonna do everything for you, and they don't like let you in to the intricacies of like what's happening in real life. Even if like you're not gonna get it at a certain age, you're not gonna understand everything. But like if they don't teach you from a young age that like opinions can be discussed, not everything is like a fact. And if they also like I feel like when they teach religion as well, if they teach it to you as like
and that they
facts
can be wrong.
and that they can be wrong, exactly, if they don't teach you for that, when they do something wrong and when you feel that resentment the first time, it's never gonna go away. You're never gonna be like, yeah, but like everybody can make mistakes, everybody does something wrong, they're also human. You're just gonna see them as like you were perfect like a second ago, and how could you do such a big thing because you saw them as perfect. They were perfect.
Jeanette McCurdy wrote a book.
Love her book. I love it.
Yeah, it's so good. I wrote a book called I'm Glad My Mom Died. And it was like the name was such a shock to everyone because, I mean, it is a shock to everyone because I think not just that we idealize people to our parents, especially to a degree where like they can do no wrong or like they cannot, even if they're abusive, you just don't say it. But it also gets to a point where if especially if they died and you realize, oh, okay, I need to like maybe unpack the some of what's happened to me. You're not allowed to speak ill of the dead. I feel like once somebody dies, they're just like off limits. And I feel like okay, do not like go in ahead and like do a smear campaign with their name or like go and write horrible things about them or whatever. Like they're now with their God. God will make sure that they pay for what they did or he will forgive them. Or at the same time, if something that happened and you're just like in a normal conversation, just telling a story of a situation that once happened, you I don't I hate that some people feel they need to polish things up to make that person who had died look better than in what actually was. Like just say it as it is.
Yeah. I think it's also like,
Or don't say it at all. Honestly, just if you need to unpack it, then say it as it is. And if you don't want to unpack it or you don't need to, just don't say it at all. Like maybe don't speak ill of the dead, okay, or don't speak of the dead at all. Like
yeah.
if you
But
feel
also,
like the need to polish somebody, then just don't do it at all, I feel.
I think it's like also the fact that there's sometimes like mental limitations, mental issues around that. Like you don't have to speak with other people about it, but even with yourself, someone who you think is so perfect, you feel so guilty thinking that this person did something wrong. This person did actually is not actually perfect because society ingrades this thought into your head like people are supposed to be perfect. And it's like thing is like they're like two sides of the equation and both of them are bad. It's like you either hate this person, resent them forever, or you don't ever like you always view them as this perfect thing. And I think there's like a medium, like there's something in the middle where like this person did so many cool things. They are like I can admire them in like several things, but I can also see and be aware of the fact that they have shortcomings in a certain area of their life, or they affected me in a certain area of my life, and I can forgive that if I know that this person is not perfect. But if I'm taught by society all the time these people are supposed to be perfect, I'm supposed to be good to them all the time and not feel any sort of resentment, not feel any sort of sadness, I'm just gonna be like muffling this part of myself and muffling this experience that I've had because I'm supposed to be viewing them as perfect. So like this is like where the balance should be, I feel like.
So we talked about idealizing people. We talked about idealizing your parents, celebrities, professors, and people that just are in your daily life. It's okay to, I feel like we just want to reiterate that it's okay to admire people and like certain things and be grateful about certain things that certain people have done. But at the same time, just always be aware. With that said, I guess this concludes our episode for today, and we'll see you guys in the next one. مع السلامة. Bye. With that said, I guess this concludes our episode for today, and we'll see you guys in the next one. مع السلامة. Bye.